Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the ISU Coaches Corner. I'm Jerry Miller, and today we're talking with Idaho State University defensive coordinator, Coach Roger Cooper. And Coop, it's great to be able to talk to you and be able to find out a little bit more about you and let the fans learn some more about you. Why don't we start out with you telling us who is Roger Cooper and tell us a little bit about your family, too.
Okay, well, married to Jessica Wheeler. She's from Bozeman, Montana. I met her when I was playing at Montana State. Been together, 10 years. Have two kids, Daz and Betty. Daz just turned 8 and Betty just turned 2. So they're keeping her really busy as I'm here in my football cave. I have family in Washington, and we have family. Her family is in Bozeman still, and that's about it.
Okay, tell us about your, I guess your playing days is how I would couch that. Obviously, you played high school football. You ended up at Montana State and were one of the great linebackers that they had there. Tell us about that experience as a player and what it meant to you.
Yeah, from South Kitsap High School across the water from Seattle and Washington. All I did was play sports really in high school. But I was a running back. I was recruited as an athlete to Montana State. I committed as a junior to UW Washington, but there was a mess up with my transcripts, and they ended up offering me a gray shirt. And by that time, some other schools had jumped in and offered me to get out of there right away. So we just jumped on it, took it, ended up in Montana State. And then I started at D-line just because that's where they had a scholarship. And then they obviously, I was a little faster than those guys. So they moved me to linebacker, and then I almost moved to running back. But yeah, I ended up starting for 3.5 years and learning how to learning how to play a linebacker on the run, really. So yeah, I had to pick it up quick.
Who was your head coach and position coach at Montana State?
So Mike Kramer was the head coach. Rob Christoff, who's now at San Jose State, and then Pete Kwiatkowski was our D coordinator, who's now at Texas.
And let's take it another direction. When was it you first started to understand that you wanted to coach football?
Wow. Well, that's kind of a different story. Well, what happened was, so I had a chance to jump around to 4 different NFL teams in NFL Europe. And, I always got injured with the first team I was with and kind of fought that throughout the 2 years of, bouncing from practice squads to, seeing doctors trying to get my injury healed. So when I was done, after spending multiple months in Birmingham, Alabama, trying to rehab and get back into football shape and get healthy, when that was all over and I was done with football, it kind of soured me on football. So I really, my identity was football. So it was kind of not dark, but it definitely wasn't the best part of my life, when you lose kind of like who you were. And, that's all I was an athlete for so long. And now it was time to move on with my life and not be an athlete. So it was kind of a time to figure out what I wanted to do from that point. So I started my own business in granite countertops and tile, and I started working. And I really didn't even like watching football. It just kind of made me sad and depressed, and I just didn't enjoy it. And then one day my wife came home and I was sleeping in, or my girlfriend at the time, I was sleeping in, and she was working and kind of supporting both of us. And she said, "Hey, there's a coaching position at Bozeman High." I was like, "Oh," I was like, well, "That's interesting. Someone should probably do that." And she's like, "You have an interview in 15 minutes. Get up." That's how it started. And so I started coaching JV football. Brock Coyle, who played for the Grizzlies and ended up playing for the Seahawks and 49ers, was one of the first kids I coached all the way through. But I ended up loving the relationships you build, hanging out with the kids, and then just you're not playing, but it's still a rush. It's still you're still competing. You're still a part of it as a coach. And so as soon as I started drawing up plays in granite dust, and not getting kitchens done, and getting back ordered, and not really enjoying that, when I never did, it's good money. Um, so I just decided I was going to start coaching. And so we won a state championship at Bozeman High. I think it was the first one they've ever won. And then with Coach Purcell, who's now the head coach at Carroll, was at Idaho. But great mentor, great person, great man. So he really, I fell in love with him. He was a great person to learn from. And then I coached for Coach Ash for 1 year with Kane Ione, my brother, my buddy. And I fell in love with it, just the competing part of it, and you're not playing, but it's still live action. So it's great. And then I ended up here. So Coach Kramer called me after I was a GA, and he said, "Do you want to come here and be a running back coach?" He said, "You have till tomorrow to tell me yes or no." And he called me back in 15 minutes and said, "What do you want to do?" so, so I said, "Let's do it." So then I started as a running back coach for 1 year, and then became a linebacker coach. And then I've been the defensive coordinator here for the last 3 years. Yes.
Tell us about the other coaches on your defensive staff, a little bit about each one.
All right. Well, I'll just go back to front. So Coach Joe Hall, JB, as everyone knows him, Coach Hall. You know, great energy, brings a ton of energy to the room, brings a ton of energy to the field, to the safeties, has a great relationship with his players. He cares deeply about the Bengals, which is great. And he's just fun to work with. Coach Yancey, not as loud by any means, kind of I don't know what the term is, but silent but strong. Has a great relationship. He's a technician with his guys, his corners. He's demanding of them, which is wonderful. He has them film log and tests, and just the day-to-day stuff. And a little bit like him is Coach Hout, in his own right. He's not going to yell a lot at practice until he gets upset, then he's going to yell a ton. He's got a short fuse, which I love. You need that out of a D-line coach, I think. I know, to each their own, right? But there's different ways to coach. But his way is, you can only push me so far, and then you're going to hear about it. So I love that. And he also has fun. And that's something with all three of these coaches. They have fun with their guys. Their kids respect them, and they have good relationships with their players. And I really think that's how you get the most out of your kids, is really to have mutual respect, not to be, you can't be that negative enforcement guy all the time, the yeller, the screamer. I think that sometimes you do have to, lean on your relationship to get the most out of these kids.
Talking about relationships with players, in the years you've been at ISU, it's from my perspective, it appears that the kids that you coach on the defensive side of the ball would run through brick walls for you and your coaches. What creates that kind of loyalty?
I really, I think it just starts with, I do build a relationship with them before anything else. I want to know who they are and what makes them tick. I want them to understand that our relationship on the field and off the field is separate. Just because I raise my voice at you and tell you, that was a bad job missing that tackle or whatever, maybe doesn't mean that I don't love you and that I care about you greatly. Me and Jess feed. We've had up to 20 backers. All the home games, we go to Costco, we get money donated from amazing boosters in this program, and they come to our house and they eat with us, and they eat, on our living room floor, and they hang out for the night for all the home games. I think it's important to share with them that you care as much about them as you want them to care about you. So I really do think it is building that relationship and letting them know that we care about them, and I think that's worked. I think you're right. Our guys play really hard for us.
The other thing I think I know about you is that you're quite the grill master. You love to cook.
I
And
do.
apparently that pays off for your players.
Yeah, I love to cook. I love it. Yeah, I don't know when that started or how it started, but I don't know. Yeah, we test out recipes on them all the time.
What's your favorite steak to cook?
You know what? I would say a reverse seared New York strip, about inch and a quarter thick. Yep.
Not a tomahawk steak.
You know, I tried it. I messed it up once. So it was too expensive to go back. So I just, yep.
Got it. Hey, we had a chance to talk after the loss at Northern Arizona. It was an ugly game, and so totally different than what we saw in the Bengals' recent win over nationally ranked UC Davis. What changed in 7 days? Because it wasn't just the opponent. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's any doubt we upped the quality of our opponent in that 7 days.
Yeah. You know, I think it was a lot of hard talks, you know, a lot of self reflection, and, things that had to be said. Um, on both sides of the ball, and they were aired out, and the kids got to tell us how they felt, and it was a way to move on and to learn from a game where you know um, all three phases didn't play well. We've as the season went, we normally had one or two phases playing well and then one not. We kind of traded turns, but against NAU, none of the three phases worked, and then there was a lack of when it got out of hand, there was a lack of effort, which was the most concerning to me. And that's what we dealt with on the defensive side of the ball, was the focus on effort and energy and physicality. So our mission is always to win the game, but without my defense, is how we talk to them, without focusing on communication, effort to the ball and physicality, then you can't win the game. So that's what we focused on, were those three things against UC Davis. And I think the offense did something similar. But yeah, it worked. We played very well.
Now, how do you keep that going?
Well, I just really think that the what we've been lacking was a little bit of self confidence. We expected to do really well, and then when that was shook early in the season, we weren't having success. I think it really hurt. I think it took some of the identity of this team away. And now they've had some success, and we're still the same team that was really good in spring. We're still the same team that worked their butts off all summer, and we still have all those athletes for the most part. I mean, we do have some injuries, but their backups were also here working out all summer, and they also went through camp, and they know what they're doing as well. So I look to us win a lot of games.
Roger, what's the toughest part of coaching for you?
Um, you know, it's I get here 6 a.m. I go home, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, just to see my kid go to bed, and then you spend all these hours and you prep and you try and put the kids in the best place possible. And then you see the disappointment after a loss in the kids' eyes. And then you also see, your family that wants you so badly to win, that knows how hard you're working, and then you're also not with them. So coaching is tough. Coaching is it's a grind if you want to be good at it, and it's tough on your family, and it's tough if you're not winning. But I wouldn't do anything else. This is what I signed up for. I love it, and it's just part of it, But I was so happy for our kids. Um, After that win, it's so hard. We're so talented, and things haven't been going our way, and the ball bounced our way a little bit, and we played well, and that got us a big win that we desperately needed. And it was amazing to see it in their eyes and see them in the locker room. It was beautiful.
What is it that you love most about coaching?
I think it's the relationships with the kids. I would say, first of all, it's the relationships you build, and you get to see them go on and do other things, get married, and and get into coaching. I've lot of kids I've coached have got into coaching because they enjoyed our time, and they've become good role models for their kids at high school or college or whatever levels. And then secondly, it would just be the rush of game day. The rush of game day and competing, and is fun. Is a lot of fun.
Here at ISU, we owe Coach Kramer a big debt of gratitude for bringing you here. We're happy that you're here. We know how good your defenses can be. We saw that this last week when you held a team that averages almost 40 points a game to just 17. We're looking forward to more in the future, and just appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, Coop, and just wish you the best of luck.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
You bet. ISU Defensive Coordinator Roger Cooper on this week's Coach's Corner from Idaho State University. I'm Jerry Miller. Go Bengals.